Hi, hello VOD people, I hope you're having a good day. Yes, my VTuber is lagging, we're gonna roll with it the best we can. It does not like me having modded Minecraft open, especially considering we added a lot of new mods. I think it was a high amount. We were at 120, 130. We're at 180 now. Granted, that's because there's a fair amount of them that were individual mods, just part of larger stuff, or just fixing little things here and there. And I'm trying to get YouTube going, but it's not wanting me to do so. Hello, Billy Bob, how are you? It's been a week. I did not get to stream yesterday because I had to finish wrapping up editing, and I ended up having to record some stuff last minute for the video. But it's all fine and good. There we go. Now we can do go live. So YouTube can actually join us. There we go. Okay, YouTube has officially joined us. We're all good and set to go. I actually remembered this time to hit go live for YouTube. So we're all good and fantastic. There we go. I can move this over. And we can grab the YouTube stream chat. And I'm gonna grab my fucking cat. Where I'm losing all the things I need. Cat, if you can hold your ass for 2 seconds, that'd be much appreciated. He's been in and out for the past 10 minutes, like 3 times. Anyway, we've added a bunch of stuff to PSMP, and this includes mineable spawners. So, I want to see what infrastructure we can make out of that. This didn't end up officially making it into the video, I made a mention of it, but I went to a Terralift structure called a Spire. It's like 6,000 blocks out. But I discovered underneath it was a dungeon that has a bunch of spawners, so I'm imagining we're gonna need self-touch for this. I need to check that we do first. But I feel like that's probably the answer. And I'm just gonna have us jump right on into this. Oh yes, and the hydrate. I will hydrate. Hydration completed. Wait, let me see. There we go. Hello, Jimmy John. Welcome back. I need to go into a world because I need to check before we go on the server. I want to double check that I do need Silk Touch in order to mine the spawners. I imagine that's how the mod functions. I would so imagine. I believe it to be true. If Minecraft could actually load, that'd be great. Okay, we're literally at the structure I want to be at because I was taking screenshots for this exact stream. I forgot to tell Discord I am live. That's a thing I need to do. I got so caught up in other things. There we go. Let me actually do what I'm supposed to do as a good streamer. There we go. We live on PSMP. Boop. And the little picture I made for today. Boop. There you go. Alright, now that I have actually done all the streamer things. Nope, I did not want to open the PNG Mew. We don't need that. I need that and that. There we go. Stupid timer? Timer? What timer? Oh, because the hydrate. Yeah, I'll hydrate again. And again. It's so I don't drown. Drown is 20,000 channel points. On Twitch. Well, I need to check. I'm gonna grab a gold pickaxe. And I'm gonna turn this... Okay, it is on peaceful. Fantastic. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I just wish to see. I imagine it is not. What? What? Why is G my swap hand? Am I on the wrong version of the mod pack? I should be on the right one. Looks like I need to save up. It does. Where? What? Am I not on the correct version? Shoot fireball? But why is my offhand on my right side? And why is it also switching? What? Keyboard? What? Swap with backs. That's the back slot? Swap with back slot. H. Nope. Y. That's reload shaders. T. That's chat. R is my pick block. I have U apparently. U. Okay, so I did not know how that's how back slot worked. And that just straight up works. Okay, I was gonna have us do a whole thing where we got Silk Touch. Apparently we don't need that. 32-day streak. Nice. And time to get you all caught up, because it's been a minute. I got this from the Spire. Welcome to my little kitchen. I have gotten some inspo to make a kitchen. I was watching Spirited Away earlier, and Zenibaz? Zeniba! There it is. I had to work through it. Zeniba's house, there's a cute little stove, and I love it dearly, and I really want to add it. I almost want to reload the VTuber. It is lagging horrendously. I wonder, is Steam open by accident? I was playing games earlier. It might have been open by accident. Steam, you're not running. Let's just try reopening it then. Because I would much rather it actually somewhat work. Because most of the time it usually works at least fairly well. I would much prefer it to just work. Plays. If it decides to. There, test. For one, I am too zoomed in. Hi, Pumpkin! Hello! How are you? I am running a little bit better, but when I clicked on Modern... Okay, not too bad. Not too bad, all things considered. Pain. Yeah, from the sounds of it, you were. I hope you're doing alright. I assume you're on break. Lots of pain. Oh, and stream's drink of the day is matcha. I got 3 min left. Oh no. Oh. So, Farmer's Delight has skillets. You can enchant them. So I have my skrillet. And we added Foxy, so... I need to load some chunks. And... Where is it? There it is. Wait, where's my horse? Where's Stinky? I changed out some of my resource packs. I love it very dearly. I love it so much. And jeez, it's the VTuber's bet. Hold on, I want to check something. Because we haven't streamed with this guy a lot. We haven't streamed with a mod pack a lot. We haven't streamed with this VTuber a lot. How much you want to bet I don't have a limiter on how much RAM my mod pack uses? How much you want to bet that is the current, the actual, just flat out answer? Java and memory, what are we working with here? Did I limit it? Because I don't think I did. No, I didn't. Can I set custom memory allocation while I have it open? No, it does not seem like it. Alright, time to reload the game. Great. I mean, hey, if it makes everything run better, then I would happily do so. Custom memory allocation, please. Ooh, now Modron's lagging bad. Oh, there we go. It's custom memory. Keep it pretty low. Oh yeah, it is up way high. No, turn that down. There we go. Let me save that. Yes? Did you save? You seem like you have. Okay, great. Great. Oh. Oh, there we go. VTuber's finally working. There's one difference between me and Shadow. What is that, Billy Bob? Pray tell. Pray tell, what is the difference? It's my VTuber still lagging. It's just gonna happen, I'm afraid. I don't currently need Discord now that I think about it. I'm gonna turn that down. So that'll probably help me out a little bit. I need these things open. That's his music. Oh! Yeah. Yeah. So turning Discord off definitely worked. Yeah. Oh, this hasn't been seen on stream, and YouTube peoples probably don't know I did this. Gotta go break over. They aren't homeless. No, they are not. Oh, you can tell Minecraft opened. Oh, you can. You know it opened. There we go. Oh, there we go. I just had to reclose Modrinth again. Great. Fantastic. So yeah, limit the amount of RAM Minecraft can use, and make sure Modrinth and Discord are closed. Noted. Before we get back in, I've been struggling with art lately, because when I draw art, it doesn't look like I drew it, and I've been trying to figure out why that is. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go back to roots, because a lot of the time, a lot of my favorite moments when it comes to doing art in general, I used to stay up really late doing paintings. And so, as a test to see where my brain was at and just trying to work through it, I just did a quick watercolor, which, yeah, what do you expect? It's just a quick watercolor. We're gonna move me to the side in order to show this off. So I just did like, cute, quick little watercolor, yeah? And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make myself smaller to properly show this one. Like, okay, now I need to figure out how to bridge that gap between my art style and the things I currently draw, because my brain's apparently still thinking and painting in watercolor. So I did a doodle with Mew, and ended up decidedly not a doodle. It is now my favorite thing that I've drawn. I love it very dearly. It's beautiful. Better than anything I can do. It just takes practice. I don't know what else to tell you. My brain, I've been struggling with basic things in art, and apparently it's because my brain's still thinking in watercolor. And I did throw up a little speed paint of this on the second channel. But with that, I want to... The fastest way for me to fix the VTuber is literally just do a bunch of undos. There we go. But I also, when I have the time to, I'm not, it's gonna be very slow over the course of the next couple weeks. I'm thinking I'm actually gonna, I've already wanted to re-rig this current VTuber, because when I look to the side, it looks fine here. It doesn't look fine here, because I'm literally looking into the side of the, I'm looking at nothing. So, I want to re-rig the VTuber anyway. I'm willing to go full ham and just completely redraw him, because I want him to be properly in my style. I want him to be watercolors. I think that'd be so cool if he was. And then I can re-rig him to fit way better. And then I can move chat to this side, and it'll be consistent as well. Anyway, let's actually get into the frickin' server. Now that my VTuber is running well, and hopefully Minecraft should run pretty damn well as well. It'll be wells. Well round the load. Encoding overloaded. I wonder why. Thank you so much, Voxy. You're great. Can I change what Voxy renders? Can I change how far? No? It just brought me back into here. Oh, it's down here, that's why. Rendering. Render distance? No. You are gorgeous. I'm not keeping you at 500. How about we go with a quiet 100? Yeah. 102 will do. That's fine. 102. Oh my god, yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, I can still see the mountains, so I'm fine with that. Oh, and now my VTuber's lagging again. Lovely. Of course. I should expect no less. Let's see. Yes, I still have all my waypoints. The spire is all the way out there. It's... Yep. Can you tell I've made this trek multiple times? Yep. Spire. So, we're gonna go out there. I have a bit of food, I have a bit of things. I don't know if there's... Oh, wait, hold on, I can show. We're gonna show off Margaret. Let's go say hi to Margaret. Now, every stream we're gonna... Every stream, every video, I have to go say hi to Margaret. So we're gonna go say hi to Margaret. My VTuber is lagging a full, like, minute behind. Or not minute behind, it's like a good 30 seconds behind at least. Hi, Margaret. You doing good? Good. I love him so much. I love her so much. Just downright adorable. I do not want to do this trek slowly. Every time I've done the trek to the spire, I've taken a new horse in order to upgrade them. I'm not doing that this time. That takes forever. So we're just gonna take Stinky. Because this is already gonna take forever as it is. It is literally 6,000 blocks away. Also, if anybody deigns to join the actual server live, open. There we go. We'll see if people joins. Oh boy. Is there any other video settings for Voxy? General, enable, server threads. Let's turn you off for streaming, maybe? I adore you, Voxy, but I think I need you to be off when I'm streaming. Yeah, it's a lot happier about that. Let me actually... I don't have the YouTube chats up. There we go. Much better. Much better. And of course, I can't get through here at all. But let me see if I can remember all the frickin' mods we've added today, because I've mentioned a few off the top of my head of the animals that have been going on and that we can mine spawners now. We've also switched out backpacks because the previous backpacks were literally eating our items and it was horrible. Items would just fucking disappear. They're gone. They're just gone. I don't know anything else to tell you. Let me see. Can I click on this so it's a little bit better? Kind of. Not really. I think it's just gonna suck, especially considering I'm not being stagnant. I'm actively opening chunks. So it's not gonna be happy with me. There's a bunch of animals added. We'll see if we see any of them. Misty found a bunch from a mod set called Animal Garden. Added, like, elephants, seals, gorillas. There's sugar gliders somewhere. I want a sugar glider. I want to get a sugar glider and name it Syrup. After one of my original attempts of amalgamation. I think that was like the original amalgamation mod pack that only existed as YouTube videos. And isn't an actual version of the mod pack you can play. But there's a bunch of things about. And we switched out furniture. We had a different furniture mod. That was absolutely the reason my flashback was crashing. 1000% the actual legitimate reason. So we switched out for Macaw's because Macaw's finally updated. I'm trying to think. There were a bunch of minor fixes and switch outs. Because we used to use Bobby for rendering, and now we're using Voxy. It's fantastic. It still lags out my game though. I need to just set aside the money to upgrade my PC. Oh, this is slightly cursed, but I think it's better. The chickens have their eyes on the side of their head. I think it's just better. That's not even like a server-wide thing. That's just I just wanted that. That's one of my resource packs. I have the same thing for rabbits as well. And of course, I showed off the lovely me, Shadow, and PB, another new person on the server. I need to sit down and update. I do, technically speaking, have a website. I have changed up my Tumblr so it can function as a website. Sort of, kind of. It works. I need to update the player list for this season, because we're slowly adding more and more people. Because Misty's like, oh, I have a bunch of people that want to join. I'll send them your way as they get to me. I'm like, alright. And so, every now and again, I'll wake up in the morning, and I'll get a text, and the other morning, the text wasn't even a text, I got a GIF of another one. And then I also had a DM from somebody. So I'm like, oh, okay. Welcome, Beanie. Hope you have fun. So we're slowly adding more and more people, and it's quickly becoming absolute fantastic chaos. We're mostly being active on the weekends, but that's fine by me, because we still have absolute chaos happen when we do have people on. I was online for about an hour or two with Shadow and PB. One, because I was trying to figure out the stupid frontiers. The thing... way back here. This thing is called a frontier. It's a map frontier. It's an add-on specifically for Journey Map. It's a lot like the parties and claims for Zero's maps. And it's fantastic, and you can make them global. For some reason, that was a server operator thing. And only a server operator thing. I get why it is. But I'm like, oh, I just need to go into the settings and change that, right? And I should be able to just open the settings. Where's the button? I should be able to just open the settings and access that. But for some reason, I couldn't. It just wouldn't work. I was giving myself a headache. I searched for hours through the, like, 250 CurseForge comments. And I found multiple people with the same issue. But they never, like, had a conclusive answer. The author was great about always answering back, but then the people wouldn't answer if it actually fixed or did anything or not, or what they did next. One person did answer how they got it fixed, and they just de-opt themselves, logged off, logged back on, re-opt themselves so they could access it. That didn't fucking work for me. You know what did work? In order to record the very last bit of footage for the video that went out today, I already had all the modpack ready to go for the morning. So I had to completely open a brand new instance, and as I was talking about all of my problems with the frontiers, and it wouldn't let me access the settings, even though I am the operator, I am the owner. I opened it. I could finally access it. I don't know. I do not know. I just don't. So that got fixed, and then I was losing my fucking mind at the backpacks, because there are only so many backpacks that are updated right now. The ones we had been using, backpacks, with an exclamation mark, was eating our items. The other one that Misty brought up to me was server backpacks. That just flat out crashed the game. You couldn't even open the game, it would just immediately crash. And then other backpacks had other problems. One of them was... It was a backpack mod, it worked. It worked in the same way a slice of bread is a meal. You got a backpack. I don't know what more you want. If you have a backpack, you can place it, that's it. Congrats, you got a backpack. The mochilas we used last season doesn't fucking work. Doesn't work at all. I don't know why. I added it to my version, I added it to a base mod pack, I made a completely new mod pack that literally only had fabric and mochilas. The backpacks do not show up. You cannot find them in JEI, you cannot find them existing in your actual world. You cannot craft it, does not show up in the creative menu, it just doesn't exist. Even though you have it installed. So we have at this point ended up with tiered backpacks. It's not cosmetic like BB would want, but it's the only one that fucking works. And thankfully it's not too much to make either. Like, these are literally backpack, leather, surround in the ores, except for netherite. Congratulations, backpack. What version is this? 26.1. Not 26.1.1, not 26.1.2, just 26.1 solid. Thankfully, a lot of things are updating, which is why we updated so soon. Hold on, I gotta moonwalk off the mountain. This is literally the safest way to do this with a horse. Thankfully, so many mods have updated. We were supposed to just be doing monthly mod updates, so it wasn't a huge hectic thing, which we started at the very end of last season because we were updating things really often and it got fairly annoying for myself, and I imagine it was particularly annoying for people who weren't online as much because then they get back online and they have to update a gajillion mods. So, towards the end of the season, we started doing recurring monthly updates. And I'm like, okay, this is really good. I like this. This makes it a lot easier on my end, admin end, because I don't have a headache from the goddamn mods. We can continue this. But so many have updated, especially things we want, and then flashback crash the game. You couldn't do Iris. I forgot they started to do that in 26.1, so, and so on. Yeah. Words. But Flash, we ended up updating early because one, a bunch of our mods that we really wanted were updating, and two, Flashback was crashing. Iris crashed the game flat out if you try to use it at all. And the backpacks weren't working at all and ruining items. So there were plenty of things to fix and things that people wanted to add. So I slowly compiled all of that. And the two simplest things, getting a working backpack mod in the Frontiers, is what gave me a goddamn headache. It should have been the easiest thing to do. It was not. It was not in the slightest. It should have been. It wasn't. My search history yesterday was different mod names so I could grab things, and how to fix mod errors, how to fix Minecraft error, what is this Minecraft error, and what helps headaches. The answer is ibuprofen. I ended up also having a cup of hot cocoa because for some reason my brain thought, yep, hot cocoa fixes headache. It probably fixes heartache, I don't know about headache. Let me play my Minecraft parodies YouTube music. Thank you. Let me fix all the things. There we go. There's supposed to be leopards out here, by the way. They think there's snow leopards in here now. I'm kind of happy not being in this season. Yeah, this would just flat out crash you. I would be quite assured of it. I did finally find a basically one-to-one for storage drawers, because storage drawers hasn't updated. I found something called extended drawers, which is basically the exact same fucking thing. It doesn't have the whole list of storage drawer stuff, but it works. It works for the intended uses. I'm trying to think of other things going on around here. I got Macaw's holiday stuff that was already in there, but it's adorable, so I'm mentioning it. And I can't wait to use it. We're gonna go down the mountain. That is the smart idea here, and go across the ice where nothing's gonna be attacking me. Except my own sanity. I'm trying to think of elsewise, but I think that's about it. Oh, there are some like minor tweak things here and there. Zombie villagers can spawn from zombie spawners. You can pick up mobs with another mod we got called click mobs, similar to click villagers we have. Oh, we're almost there. Almost. And then my game will stop hating me momentarily when we get there. Excuse? Thank you. I remember there's a fair amount of spawners over here. Oh, we can also mine trial spawners is another one. And there's supposedly upgradable spawners? I don't know how that works. I'm gonna have to look into what all that does. But I'm like, yeah, I've taken on this season. Last season, I was hesitant about modding and ended up absolutely adoring it. So this season, I've taken on the idea of, you know what? Let's give it a shot. We can try it out. If it doesn't work out, then we can always just fix it later. Attitude, that's what I want. I don't even know if I said the correct word. That's the attitude I've taken on for this season. Because some things I'm like, but then I went, wait, why am I against this? Is it just because it's new thing? Probably. Let's try it. Can't be scared of new shit forever. Can I go up that way? Oh, kinda. Yeah. Not really. Not really. Oh yeah, I can. I can. Alright. We're gonna reload chunks. I don't know why there's so many skelly horses here. Oh, I have lampposts in my inventory because I was supposed to do that yesterday. We were gonna stream that yesterday. I was just gonna add some lights to the server paths because that's part of my list of to-do. I have a interesting to-do list at this point of a bunch of stuff I need to do. Whether it be server side, admin side, just general survival. I have a laundry list of items. We have a spawner here. Yeah, it just gives you a fucking spawn. Okay. You'd think I would need... you'd think I need like an enchantment, but no, it's just straight up. Cool. You're a zombie spawner. This makes... Okay. I really want to do farms at that port where the iron golem farm is right now. I want to do farms hidden inside of shits. If I'm just can straight up move spawners around, this is 1,000 times easier for me to do. I don't have to do giant drowned farms and somehow hide it inside of a giant ship or something. I can just pop a drowned spawner in there. Why is... Oh, I know why that's there. I'm wrong. I is wrong. Really? You suck. I want to get more sharpness on this thing too. I need to get villagers going is another one of the things. Oh, I do still have a headache from the mods. Because we were supposed to have better bundles, but it doesn't fix it at all. It doesn't actually work currently. Better Bundles is a mod that's supposed to make bundles hold 27 items, or 27 stacks, instead of just a singular stack of items. Which I would really love to have. But as it stands, it does not work, so I need to figure out why. Well, I know why. I need to figure out how to fix that. Because it's a mod and a data pack, and it gives you instructions on how to install the mod and how to install the data pack. It doesn't tell you how to get the data pack. And it only has the mod version available, but it's listed as a data pack. So you can see where my confusion and frustration lies. You can see where I am losing my goddamn marbles here. So lots of fun server stuff, so much fun, all the time, everywhere, all the time, always. It never ends. It is the headache that never ends. It goes on and on, my friends. I'm not dumb enough to attack the Enderman. And we can just straight up circumvent the dripstone parkour that's over there. We're just gonna go around the corner. Yeah, no. I think this was a thing. No. Just chest. Or barrel. And I think this is just a looty. Hi. No. No. Oh, there's still gonna be a video coming up this Wednesday. I have almost finished recording it. Thankfully, it's not a super long video. It's just a mini thing. For amalgamation that I wanted to do. So that should absolutely be out Wednesday. Let me out. And now that I have my lovely mods, such as Flashback, hopefully, things will be so much better. Excuse. Can I get over here? Thank you. Give. You suck. Okay, where is... This is literally just a back alley. What are we doing? That goes that way. This... Does this loop around to where I just was? Yes. There's a poor guy stuck into webs. Let me help you, buddy. We'll get you out of here. Goodbye. I know what that does. We'll come back around here in a moment. What are you? You're another cave spider spawner. Lovely. Gotta love... I'm gonna have so many spider spawners. That's just great. literally nothing back here. That would have been the perfect spot for a spawner, but no. And that goes back to the start. So we're gonna loop around. Round and round and round and round. I haven't enchanted really anything. I got this from the Deep Dark. You go down there, you have nothing. Because I kept tricking myself with that. You have a drowned spawner right there. So give me that. Thank you. And get me over here. Thank you. And I think we exit over here. No, we do not. It is a good bit of air though, so I'll take it. It's decor. Wait, see pickles. Give. I definitely wasted air doing that. I need to get enchant. We're doing fantastic for only a weekend, but I still have much to do. Very much to do. And I don't want to do it, but I need to do it so I can do the things I actually want to do. I wanted to leave it for other people. I don't need the ores. I do not need the ores, especially gold. And then we curl around here. We're back in this area, which leaves one exit to go. Yep, no. Bonkus, thank you. I am so happy. I went through this and just lit up the spawners. Like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna leave it for other people who want to use it. Or maybe we can come back here later. And lo and behold, we came back later. Oh, wait. Oh. That way, would that be... So my brain went, there's a silverfish spawner over here, right? There's the silverfish farms. But I don't know if that would be useful in the context. Because the silverfish farm being so good is purely because of how fast it runs. And you don't have to set up a whole lot. But because considering I have the actual spawners, I need to double check why a silverfish farm is as good as it is. Because silverfish themselves aren't necessarily good XP. It's the vast amount of these silverfish, I believe, is what makes the good XP. And what we're also... You know what? Actually, I'm going to leave that. Not even because of this guy in front of me. While I was sharing about the Spire, and I was on a copy of the world to show it off real quick, because I am not walking all the way back out here, except to do this. I discovered there was not just the helmet that I got. I have to be careful, there's powdered snow up here. I should have got sus powdered snow as well. That is a mod pack. Or resource pack you get. There we go, right here. And that just makes you fall all the way down. So there's a reason I'm being a little bit extra careful. Apparently there's a fucking barrel up here that I had no clue was up here. So I want to see what's in the barrel. I'm just gonna casually hold a water bucket just in case. There's still some powdered snow on that edge. There's powdered snow there. I don't think sneaking's gonna help me, but it gives me a little bit more time to spot it. So I'm willing to do it. And I think there was some powdered snow last minute up here that I removed. Because it's literally just a dead drop really far down, if I remember right. Yeah, this. This is what kills me all the time. And that should... Nope, that's not the last of the powdered snow. I literally walked right into some. A little bit of powdered snow there on the corner. And nice and high up in the mountains. This is where I stole the helmet. And this is where they put the frickin' barrel. Ooh. Efficiency Fortune 3! Oh, I am so happy I came back. I'm so happy I came back. My VTuber's lagging so much, it can't show how happy I am to see that. And we're just gonna do this to get down. Because no. Oh, wait! No. There we go. And then I could just walk just a little bit more up to get stinky and we can go home. Because that is all I need out here. This is all we're doing out here. That's it. We did it. And now I get to go home and we get to figure out what in the world we're doing with the spawners. And how. Bed back in the bundle. Hello. Hello, what? Nope. Give me stinky. Come back here. Thank you. Carefully. Thank you. And the cookie sets over the horizon. What? Why am I getting done? Oh, I have it as top chat, live chat. There we go. Every now and again I get double notifications and I don't know where the sound's coming from. I have not a clue. Is it not enough? Okay, I don't know. I don't know. I could not tell you. Ooh, there we go. And now slowly home. Oh, and I have a bunch of other waypoints because of planning out paths. And people are slowly doing... Thankfully, LUP today tested for me the frontiers. So we know people that aren't server operators can actually make them. And others can see them. That's goddamn fantastic. Genuinely. I'm very happy. Because goddamn, that literally gave me a headache. Oh, I did finally add the mangrove waystone. I might have mentioned that on day one, that I needed to add one, and I kept forgetting to. I did finally do that the other day. So that is done. And I still have other things I need to do that I can't remember off the top of my head. We added a bunch of call your pets, animal item mods. So you can like call your parrot, call your dog, call your happy gas, call your cat, call your horse. And this is done using a goat horn. You take a goat horn and you stare while shifting at a named pet. It has to be named to work. And doing this will enchant the goat horn with the name of your pet. And then whenever you call the goat horn within a certain range, that pet will come to you. So, because I'm up near the mountains, and I'm on a lot, Misty's like, you know what, Mew's just gonna be our goat horn provider this season. I'm like, you know what, yeah, sure, let me add it to my list. What is currently on my list? I do literally have a whiteboard of things. And then I also have my planner next to me. There's the list for the mini video I was doing today. Goat supply, mob spawn, bundle data pack with a bunch of question marks. Add new members to website and remake model with a bunch of question marks. And then I need to do the west paths, the north paths, the spawn bridges. I need to get villagers going, we need to get XP farm going, I need to get enchantments in general going. Fortune's definitely going to help me out now that we have that. And that's going to definitely streamline some of my process. We did add in just hammers. That hadn't updated yet. I now have it, which is going to make my life so much easier. Because I refuse to excavate anymore without them. It is fantastic, and I'm so happy they update the mod. Also, mod developers are fast. Because I literally updated the entire mod pack this morning, and already like 6 or 7 of them need to be updated again. I am not doing that anytime soon, though. So as the issues come up, I have to tell members, no, we need these versions of the mods, that's why you can't connect. Which, in all fairness, I did say, oh, you can just update all of them and then add these. You can't anymore. You can't. Unfortunately. So, the options people kind of have right now is either upload a new instance of the mod pack, take that mod folder, copy, paste all the mods in it into your folder, or just go with the new mod pack and redo all of your settings. And even then, some of the new mods that we added today have updated again. Tiered backpacks was literally added today, and it's also updated today now, so it doesn't help. None of it fucking helps. I didn't go to this before. You know what? We're gonna stop here for a second. I didn't visit this the first time. Unfortunately, I need Stinky to get up here, so we're gonna do that. As long you're not allowed to hurt the horse, but otherwise we're chill. Let me just bonk you into tomorrow. Thank you. Yeah, goodbye. That'll do. Let me in here, thank you. Thank you kindly. Do you have a goat horn? I don't even want it for the mods. I just want a goat horn. That's all I want to do. I just want a goat horn from y'all. Y'all got a goat horn? Y'all got a goat horn? You have cookies. I already have a cookie. I don't need your cookie. I don't need anything in here. I have onions. I have arrows. I don't use a crossbow. There's not a damn thing. Oh, nice. There's not a damn... Not so nice. There's not a damn thing you could give me. I have more than enough onions. Oh, we did add a harvest item. There's a harvest thing. I could put fortune. I don't need fortune on my pickaxe as much as I want it on my knife. There's a knife with Farmer's Delight, and it can give you extra harvest with items. You can also put fortune and sharpness on it. And I discovered, I even realized I could do this. I didn't know this was an option. When you use the knife to harvest rice, it automatically does the cutting for you. Usually when you hit rice with your fist, it gives you a rice panicle that you then have to turn into rice, which also gives you the byproduct of straw. When you just click it with the knife, then it automatically does it, and I don't have to worry about it. And if I put fortune on it, theoretically, I should get even more rice. Right? I would hope. Unless it's like a frickin' Silk Touch watermelon. An old server I played on, I made 20k cookies. Oh dear. That is true chaos. This way, I guess? There's no good way around here. There just is not. I mean, drink some agua. Delicious. But Season 3 has also decidedly flip-flopped a lot of my life. It is just a suffering from success moment. So currently my schedule is I wake up at 6 a.m. my time, which ends up being like 7, 8, 9 a.m. for everybody else. So I can be awake a little bit before Misty's stream and help out with this and that or such. And if I don't have anything to do that day, then I get 2 hours uninterrupted, usually. Not really. I get 2 hours that I can just sit back and do some writing. And I could just have that time slot to myself. And then spend the rest of the morning doing whatever the fuck I need to do. Oh, hey. Y'all have a goat horn? Hey, you know. Oh, almost does all their health. Okay, I do actually want your drop. I don't care about the rest of you. Can you burn? Thank you. You're not allowed to do that. I want that. What did you even drop? I didn't even pick it up. That was the one item I didn't pick up. It's in the only thing I actually needed from you. Thank you. Nope. Okay, give me the bottle. No. And no. Thank you. Okay. Do you guys actually have a goat? No. Not allowed. I just want a goat horn. That is all I want from you guys. Literally, all I want. And it gave me just a normal bad omen. I think on Season 2, me and you were the only two who were on the west side. No, Axe was over with me for a little bit. And... no, we were north. You were on west. I was north. Skip was over on north with you. I need to take another bundle is what I need to do. Boop, 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 boop. I don't need that. I will take the string. Daily cranberries. Hi, Bookish. Hello. How are you? Lilac's early base was west as well. Bury me. I just imagine, I am hoping this is exactly what you're referencing. I just imagine the Garfield meme, bean me. I think that's what you're referencing, and I seriously hope it is. I haven't thought about, I need to make that my profile picture again. I used to have that as one of my Discord profile pictures for my personal account. I don't change my profile pictures a lot. I am the person who once in a blue moon will change their avatar or profile. I haven't had that in a good minute. Pile of berries on top of me. Ooh, berries sound good. Oh, you know what sounds good? I don't like actual gooseberries. I do really like gooseberry jam though. That doesn't sound half bad. Or like things made with gooseberries. I don't like them normally, but I do like that. Oh, and it's almost gonna be blue. Okay, I still have like 2 months until blueberry season. But we have... I don't think I've talked about this too much. My mom actually just straight up keeps like a mini farm. We have a fair amount of food we grow ourselves. I don't need anything here. And that currently includes a fair amount of crops that are rotated a lot, like carrots, potatoes, tomatoes, etc. A fair variety of tomatoes at this point. Usually corn, some pumpkins here and there. Hell yeah. I would prefer Papa Mew, but yes. We grow a bunch of foods, and this currently includes like 5 odd blueberry bushes. There's a plot that is purely just blueberry bushes. And we also have a frickin' giant, like 2 giant raspberry, raspberry bushes as well. And a whole bunch of strawberries. Sadly, we only have like a really tiny variant of the strawberries. But my mom's starting to collect, there's a different kind, I think it's Tillamook strawberries? Something like that. There's a specific kind of strawberry that gives you the big store-bought strawberries that you think of. We typically end up growing tiny strawberries that are a little bit bigger than the biggest blueberry. They're not super huge. Was talking. Oh, okay, I get it. You right. Mama Mew. Yeah. Ooh, out of my face. Mama Mew is a fantastic. I could call her Mama Bat. That'd be a little less confusing. Mama Bat is absolutely fantastic. Oh, speaking of Mama Bat. Lately, every now and again, she's always been like this, but it's been a consistent thing lately, is basically every week or two, she'll just like, oh, whip up a random dessert. And lately, it's been accidentally doubling. So at the beginning of the month, she wanted to make some Rolo ice cream. She has like an attachment for her blender that she can actually just straight up like make ice cream with it. And so she made Rolo ice cream, and for some reason, it required like 6 egg yolks. It never occurred to me that you're bad. That's fair. It's just like a weird skelly bag thing. I have a we added custom models to the server. I need to get it actually working. Hold on, let me run away from these guys and I can show it off. Because I did fully sit down and make something. I did fully do that. So let's, let me open. There we go. I've fully made a guy. Here's the guy. I fully made a thing. I just need to figure it out how to get it onto the server. But I made a guy. Also, I need to fix more of his animations, is another thing. That's another thing. I need to add that to my list too. But she had like 6 or 7 egg yolks that she needed for the recipe. And she's like, what the hell am I gonna do with 7 egg whites? That's too much. I'm not gonna throw that away. And so we ended up deciding on pavlova. So one day we had pavlova, and the next day we had a big old batch of Rolo ice cream. Back to back. And this has also happened again, Because this week she made mint brownies. These are a nice fudgy brownie bottom with a mint cream on top and then chocolate on top of that. Like a nice layer of chocolate. And then we did like a little board game event thing and we made treats for that too. And she also made brownies for that. So we have even more brownies. Pavlova, yes. This is my first time having pavlova. And I am a sucker for a good meringue. I loved it. Brownie bottom. Brownie bottom. It's so good. I literally had it just before stream. It's a nice fudgy brownie. It just makes me crave Andy Mints though. Or Andy Mint cookies. Andy Mints, if you don't know them, they're just like a little chocolate candy that have one layer of chocolate, little layer of mint, and a little layer of chocolate on top. My mom has a cookie recipe where it's a nice fudgy cookie. It's a very delicious, like nice chewy cookie. And then when they're done cooking, she'll take them out of the oven and then she'll put a Andy's Mint on top of each and every one. Out of my house. Get bonked with a skillet. Out of my house. Burn. Thank you. And let the Andy Mint melt over it and harden over the cookie. And it's so good. It's so good. It's absolutely my top 10, not even my top 10, it's like my top 3 favorite cookies. Also, I'm absolutely outgrowing this place, but we're not going to worry about it too much. Nope, that is opposite of what I need to do. I need to do it that way. And Batman bottles go in here. Next time... This week, I'm definitely adding... Oh wait, I want the fortune book out. It's just deep slate ore. I'm not too worried about it. I forgot I got an efficiency pick at some point. I don't even remember how. Dinosaur. Dinosaur go Rory. I don't know what I'm doing with these. Hold on, do I have an extra bundle still? Yes, I do. Bundle the lot of those guys up. Yeah. Can I bundle spawn? Yes, I can bundle the spawners. Fantastic. What I want to do. Take the knife. You know what? I have a mending book. Do I have an unbreaking? I don't remember what unbreaking looks like. Don't think it'll let me see any more than that. Boop, 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 boop. I don't think I have an unbreaking. I thought I might. I don't think any of those... Oh, that's the mending I have. Breach, Impaling, Thorns, Efficiency, Feather Falling, Piercing, Aqua Affinity, Feather Falling, Density, Efficiency. Okay. I do not have. Decidedly. Let me put the spawner bag with the villager bag. One of these days, you'll have to teach me how to yap like you do. I love the way you talk, so smooth and always something intelligent, if not doing... If not degen in nature, and sometimes. It's been a long time coming, flat out. I have been streaming now for... over 4 years. It's 4 years from January. And... I do a lot of writing in my free time, which certainly helps craft my voice better and craft the opinion better. And I have a little secret that blows the minds of my friends and makes them realize why I'm a smart asshole the whole time. Is if I don't know the correct answer, I don't fucking say shit. You win 100% of your bets if you know you're gonna win. There's the correct answer to every conversation. But usually, I've gathered enough skills in life at this point that I can usually take one thing to another. You don't get enough love, I'm gonna change that. I appreciate it. I have enough skills that I can bounce between different things. If there's something in the digital art field, there's a chance, or something in the art field period, there's a chance I have learned it, or at least dabbled in it. I've done painting, I've done digital painting, I've done animating, I have actually taken digital graphic design courses. I took actual photography courses. I've done actual Photoshop courses and specifically photo editing. I've done filmmaking courses. I've done video editing courses. I absolutely adore ceramics. I want to do more ceramics. I haven't dabbled in wood. Actually, that's a lie. I've done woodwork. That is a complete lie. I've done paper mache. My stream keeps buffering. Oh no. It's just lagging bad. Hold on. I think we're gonna have to cast out the VTuber. Welcome, PNG Mew. We'll see if this runs better. Hello, new person. That is a keyboard spam of a name, and that is fantastic. Gugu. Gugu Rai. Gugu Rai 6? I think that is it. Brain. Oh yeah, like all the different fucking art things I've done. But it's something I haven't done. I can't think of anything. Yeah, I love my PNG. I have a bunch of these. I use these religiously. These are some shitty emotes that I have on the Discord server, and if you're following on Twitch, you can use some of these. So we got loading. There's loading. There's also thumbs up. We have why. What? Squeeze. Really? I stole this from when we died in hardcore because my reaction was way too fucking good and I had to make it an emote. Yeah, there we go. There's praise. We also have, there's a bonk. Cute. I have a bunch of these and I mostly use them for VOD thumbnails at this point. There's also anger. When I was trying to figure out how I wanted to draw Mew in general, I went onto Pinterest and I specifically looked up Discord reaction image. Or like Discord reaction memes. And then I just drew Mew as those images. And I went to Discord and I was like, hey guys, should we do a stream where I draw these as actual emotes for us to use? And the resounding answer was yes. I'm still trying to think of art things I haven't tried. Because, metal pipe. Because I'm struggling to think of, I can't do music. I want to learn the piano. I am tone deaf as all hell. I do not understand music. It's a miracle I even passed it in elementary school. The moment I could, I dipped out. Discord, where tea is spilled all the time. Absolutely. Most of the time, I do a lot of cooking. Do I have any pictures of my cooking lately? I have a picture from today. I don't think I have it on my computer. Do I have any pictures on my computer of recent things I've made? No. We are gonna pull the picture from Discord that I made today. I made a bagel sandwich. Eurythm is in language and physical works, not notes. I have the same affliction. Yeah, I like working with my hands. I cannot, for the life of me, do music. I can do music history. I'm great at music history. You play a song, I probably fucking know it. Well, if you play a song in the last 10 years, I'm gonna struggle. If you play a song since the 1920s, I probably know it. Where did I threw it in here. Media. There we go, food. Save. Image. Bonk. There we go. I made bagel sandwich. Oh, that is way too big. It's way too much. Way too much. Too much. Too much. Too much. There we go. I can't see YouTube chat. There we go. How are you? I smacked my face on my keyboard. I got the name. That is fantastic. This bagel sandwich, what I made specifically, it's made with egg. Egg, I just did a little bit of steamed kale. The thing I really liked about this, when you're making deviled eggs, you do mayo with a little bit of mustard probably some lemon juice, and then depending on what kind of deviled egg you're doing, you'll do paprika or pepper on top. So I did that spread with this, and it was absolutely delicious, and I had like chives and cream cheese on the bottom. Is there any other food I've made recently? Where's some other food? Other food? Can't remember. I tend to do a fair amount of cooking. Where is some food I have made? Oh, I could share some of the honey butter tteokbokki. I'm gonna make this Friday, too. I need to make this for dinner. Honey butter tteokbokki. Tteokbokki. Or sticky rice cakes should be another way to look it up. You're gonna make me hungry and I'm trying to go to bed, please. But yeah, I love making tteokbokki. It's my favorite. And I will take it as a compliment. My best friend, Sugar Cookie, one of my besties. I call her Sugar Cookie on the streams. She is half Japanese, and she adores my tteokbokki, so I will happily take that as a compliment. I definitely don't make like flat out traditional tteokbokki, but I think I like to think I make some good tteokbokki. Cool. I guess like it doesn't give me extra. I don't think it does. Did it? No, it doesn't give me extra rice. Damn. That sucks. I was really hoping it would. That's shite. That is not how it's pronounced. I saw it was tteokbokki. Is it not tteokbokki? B-O-K... B-O-K-K-I. Tteokbokki. How to pronounce tteokbokki? Tteokbokki. Okay. Always do te. I need to do tteokbokki. Tteokbokki. I need to relearn that muscle. Boop. Boop. You think it'd be easier because I'm learning Japanese and I would remember that? But no. Granted, it's Korean, not Japanese, but you know what I mean. You know, I said we were gonna do like the new things. I need to just get light posts everywhere. That's a cute way to say it so I wouldn't worry about it. Words are hard. Yeah. What's interesting is for the longest time I cannot stutter at all, but the moment I start a stutter, it's there. It's stuck there. I forgot, yeah, that it does this. There we go. Lovely. A boop. And we're just gonna slowly place a bunch of these. I need 3 more days of watching to get a 35-day streak. Hell yeah. I was like, isn't it Korean? Yeah. I'm still slowly learning Japanese. Yeah, boop, boop, boop. I still struggle with S's. I'm not sure why it is, or what it is. Sometimes I can go without for the longest time, and then I get stuck on something, and it's just back. I don't know. Other times I can articulate beautifully for hours on end. Honestly, I think, like, this is really- there's a bed right there. This is really rounding back a lot, because you're talking about how it's interesting I talk for long periods of time. I just follow the train. I let the ADHD go loose. Because you know when you're a kid and people are like, just stop talking for a second, I want to get my word in. Streaming does not have such a social courtesy unless you're streaming for other people. When I'm streaming by myself, brain's gotta work to read that. I could get most of that. I'm assuming that's something I know a friend that's doing the same. I'm going to guesstimate. I am shit at remembering the different kanji, but I can otherwise get most of it. I've gotten the grammar down good enough that if I'm struggling with a kanji, I can usually pick apart what the sentence is anyway. Nope, okay. I must be confused. The first set of kanji, my brain's just going to friend. I am struggling, apparently. So it looks like Tamagotchi to me. Hey, boop, boop, boop. I need to... Can I easily place this while I'm on Stinky? No. No, I cannot. Definitely not. Okay. Boop. Nope. But yeah, ADHD brain go burr when I'm allowed to talk endlessly. One of the fandom I'm in that I... This is way too much explanation. There's a fandom I'm in that uses, like, multiverse stuff. And I specifically remember in a high school homeroom, my friend let me explain to them multiverse theory. And I literally spent the last 40 minutes of school explaining to them multiverse theory, and I didn't even finish. The bell went off and they went, "What the fuck? How did you do that?" And I'm like, I don't know. It's multiverse theory, man. I get passionate. The consonants are killing me. There's only 10. It says, "I appreciate you as a friend." Okay. I'm still working on... What am I working on right now? That's a good question. I believe I am currently working on adjectives, so that would be why. Or no, I'm doing wants and referring to other people. I'm gonna probably come through here later. Because I really need to cut down a bunch of these trees. But for the moment, at least having a few light posts around is gonna help a lot. Yeah. Leave me alone. Come here, Stinky. And we'll pop another one in this little corner here. What do you call a pile of cats? A mountain. I wish our frickin' cats could get along. I really wish. It doesn't happen. We had like, I was the only one home for a couple hours yesterday. Excuse me, sir. I was the only one home for a couple hours yesterday, so I have my door open. And one of our cats, Dinah, has been trying to get into my room for ages, because at the edge of my bedside table, I have one of those little wall-mounted catnip balls. And my bedside table just so happens to be right next to my door. God damn it, cat. Sir, you literally just got in here. Jeez. Thank you, Nightbot. You were fantastic. I can't see YouTube chat again. I need to see YouTube chat. There we go. Why do cows wear bells? Because their horns don't work. And cheese. Sticky cheese. Speaking of cat, yeah. Yeah. So I had my door open for quite a few hours yesterday, and I just suddenly hear behind me, dum, 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 dum. It's Dinah rubbing her entire face full force into this tiny little catnip ball. She finally got to it. She was happy as hell. And then she realized I saw her and noticed her. And Dinah is a fat little black cat. She is downright adorable, and she has an attitude. Her personality screams attitude. Out of here. Thank you. She has been more than acclimated to the house. She just doesn't like anyone. Except for my brother. Can't do cats, I'm 100% a dog person. I don't even remember, we just end up with cats all the time. I don't think we've ever had a time where we just haven't had a cat. Fat void, yes. Hello, child. We're trying to speak. The adults are talking. For me, the funniest thing for me on season 2 was scaring you one of the last days. Scary. Why is there just a whole horde of zombies? What has happened? Why? I remember the chicken skin that no longer works that I wish worked. Where am I? Going the wrong direction, that's where I am. That's what it is. I need to go this way. What's worse than a man? A child. No. Exactly. But Dinah's more than acclimated to the house. She just growls at everything and everyone. Granted, she's black as night and loves being a hall monitor, so she is just a little furry foot hazard. Or little furry tripping hazard. But she just growls at everything and everyone, so as I'm hearing the little thum, thum, thum of... I had a creeper skin. Oh, the creeper skin and creeper sound. Yes, yes, yes. As I hear the little thum, thum, thum of her going in against the catnip ball, like she's been walking through the desert and just saw water. I also hear accompanied by it. And she's just growling her little head off, because anyone dares be in her vision. Also, granted, Dusty just likes to attack her every fucking morning. I don't know why it's their morning ritual, but the morning isn't complete until Dinah's growled her head off at Dusty daring be outside of his room. And Dusty has attacked Dinah for growling at him because she's an easy target and will growl at literally anything. So they just bring out the worst in each other, unfortunately. Dusty just wants to be friends with everybody. Except Jenny, because Jenny's scary. Jenny is our Maine Coon that we got from my grandma. Because my grandma moved in with my aunt and couldn't keep said Maine Coon. Because they already had a shit ton of cats at the house. And all of them were boys. So, Jenny came with us. And also it was helped by the fact that the only person in the whole world that she trusted before she came here, Pussyfoot Hall Monitor. Exactly. The only person in the whole world that Jenny trusted, aside from my grandma, was my dad. And now she actually is barely acclimated to the house. Maine Coon? Yes. I do believe I have a picture. If we can... Let me finish placing these, and we can sit at spawn for a moment. I think I'm gonna run out of these before we get... Oh, no, wait, hold on. I'm wrong. I will not run out of these before we get there. And then we also have the queen of the house, Aurelie. She is definitely a mutt of a cat. She has too many different characteristics to be considered distinctly one kind of cat. So, the best way to describe her is a white, fluffy cat that looks like a tabby pelt has been draped across her back. And she is absolutely gorgeous. She's very soft. You'd be lucky to touch her at all. Sugar Cookie? I've known Sugar Cookie for 15 years. We're gonna be, as of this fall, we're gonna be best friends for 16 years. I have known her since day one kindergarten. Only recently has she actually gotten the chance to pet Aurelie. Even more recently that Aurelie actually asked her for pets. My nephew, every now and again, gets a little bit of a chance, and he's basically lived here his entire life. Granted, he's 5, but you know what I mean. I think every now and again she'll maybe walk across my lap, if that. Why are you stuck? Oh, you're stuck on that. Okay, that's fine. Why do I hear pillagers? That is why I hear a pillager. Okay. Let me put one more here. And then I need to put one more over there. Off. With your head. Get bonked. Thank you. Boop. No, boop, boop. And let me bundle, bed, bonk. Have a full-bred shepherd and a Maltese, huge and tiny. Bye-bye. Okay, bye-bye, Belly Bob. Thankfully, Mount will stay still, very thankfully. Should I have? I believe I should have. I don't know if I have it on standby on my computer, but I should be able to find somewhere a picture of each of them. I can show Dusty easily. I can show my baby boy. We can show Dusty easy peasy. I always have pictures of my baby. Look at him. He's downright adorable. He's just a sweetheart. He's just a baby. I love him very dearly. His cat tree, that spot is literally right next to my desk. It's at my left hand. So I just get to love on him all the time. Where's my favorite? Ah, there we go. My favorite picture of the boy. I have so many. I will never not have pictures of Jesse. Oh yeah. Fluffy belly. I almost clicked the stop stream button. That's not what I needed to click. I need to click browse image. There we go. Browse file. And then I actually have had Dusty since he was a little boy. Since he was a little baby. I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees and I'm eating a grilled trees. Hello, Saki Jockey. Welcome. Welcome back. It's good to see you again. My stream is still buffering. I'm gonna cry. I don't know if it's possible if to lower the video could help it. Usually 360 is enough that you can actually have it run pretty well, but not have it look absolutely goddamn horrible. I do not have on standby, but I can. My internet just won't work. Oh no. Let's see, I should have on my phone. Let me send this to myself. I should have pictures of Jenny on my phone. I'd imagine so. I imagine that to be the case. Where, Tumst? Something that did help with my stutter, and I've started to kind of do this as a practice, so I'm actually better at articulating and speaking. Singing, believe it or not. Just singing and getting better at singing various songs has helped me a lot in practicing articulating. I know I had a good pic. Where's the picture of Jenny being a big old loaf? Oh, right. I have that Renaissance picture of Dinah. That'll do. There's Jenny. I swore I had one of Aurelie. Did I not? I thought I had a good one of her. Oh, there we go. That's a better picture of Denny, so you can actually see how fucking big she is. Because not only is she a Maine Coon, but she's a bit of a fat cat. I got one of Scruffy. There's a stray around at my house. My internet hates your stream for some reason. I'm gonna have to head out. I'm so sorry. Have a good night. Have a good night, Bookish. I want to find... Do I not have a picture of Aurelie? I have pictures of... Okay, I have one of Aurelie on my lap. That's it. I got more pictures of Sally, my sister's dog, than I do of Aurelie. I'm gonna save each of these images. Save. Okay, picture of Scruffy. Scruffy is a neighborhood cat that looks almost exactly like mine, except a sad old man. There is no other words to describe it. He just looks like a sad old man. Alright, I've acquired the pictures of the cats. So here's the Renaissance picture of Dinah. There's no other way to describe it. This was on Christmas Day. There's a bow on somebody's present, and we just kind of put it on her head, and it is absolutely beautiful. It is downright amazing. And then we got a picture of Aurelie. She is a absolutely beautiful cat. She's 16, I believe, 17 now. She's pretty old, but she's doing decently well despite that, aside from throwing up all the time and being as skinny as bones despite eating twice her body weight. All the cats have wet food right now. They have wet food in the morning and at night. They have their breakfast and dinner, which helps a lot. We don't have dry food out for them anymore because people they tend to throw it up, and it's not the healthiest considering both Jenny and Dinah are kind of overweight. So they get their wet food twice a day and every now. Well, shit. Alright, cool. I'm gonna have to cut that from stream. She knows different food names. That's great. I'm gonna have to cut that later. Good thing YouTube doesn't save and I can just go quickly edit Twitch. That's gonna be fun. Anyway. It's Scruffy too. Scruffy's downright adorable. I have a lot of pictures of Dusty. Oh my god. This is a baby picture of Dusty when he was a little baby kitten. He was a little bitty boy. Just downright adorable. Like the cold water feeling when I knew, oh my god, I might have doxed myself. That's great. That's great. Anyway, I'm gonna attempt to carry on with my day. Is there anything else? Because my brain's going over, not necessarily what just happened. My brain's going over the list of things I need to do. I need to edit tomorrow and get this VOD uploaded tomorrow. This area between spawn and the mountain I still need to clear out and clean up. Yeah, I need to clean up like from out here all the way down to spawn. And also do all the other bridges for spawn. Right now there's only a dock for the warpstone boat. And then of course I need to do the spawners and all the other things. And there's the mods. I want to spend like proper time building, not just quickly build something up on stream. What else? Oh, I can make some hammers! I haven't really gone into the nether. I haven't done any netherite mining yet. It's not something I've been hugely focused on because I've been doing a lot of admin stuff and I had 8 freaking hours. Oh, right, this sucks. I had 8 hours from day 1 of footage to edit through, so I ended up spending most of my week doing that, and then I'd record little tidbits here and there of progress, or oh my god, person logged on, or something or other happening. Ooh. A lot of those tidbits didn't make it in, like, I almost got a zombie Nautilus, but I didn't have a saddle on me, so I couldn't take him home. I'm trying to think. I did go out to the spire by myself, and then I also went out there with Shadow, which I recorded a little bit of. Because when we went out there, part of my journey map ain't working. A lot of my journey map ain't working. That's great. Okay, cool. Oh, I can't even show the area because it's not loading. I just... I just want to show the structure. That's all I want to do. Can you load correctly? No, of course you can't. Do I have to reload chunks? Reload texture? Oh. Oh. Please? Ready, please? Please? No, no it's not. There's another structure out there. We have a thing called repurpose structures, which has given me all the various pillager towers we've seen. But there was also a frozen ocean monument out there that we went and busted through, but it didn't really have too much in it. Just kind of had some strays, some vexes, loot. That's about it. So I didn't actually end up keeping really any of that. There's a lot of tidbits that just didn't make it in or I didn't record. Like, I didn't record me slowly going through and placing all of these, and then cleaning it up the next day and destroying that tunnel because I haven't fixed flashback yet at that time. I did record a fair amount of me, like, running around the world and loading stuff in, which it insists I haven't anymore for some reason. So that's great. I have loaded a bunch of this in, but it won't let me show it. I recorded bits and pieces of that. And I'm not sure when eggs got added to my shelves, but someone went and put a bunch of eggs in my shelves. Oh wait, I can change this back. There's a mod we had on here previously that I ended up getting rid of because it was just bugging the hell out. Where? Yeah, I'm just gonna use the actual thing. We had a mod called Tom's Server Editions, which was a furniture mod, but it didn't really fucking work at all. Half the time, it wouldn't load correctly, so you'd have to reload the resource packs. I figured that out on my own, unfortunately. It didn't even tell you how to craft half the shit, and there was supposed to be a mod you could add so you could. It didn't work. Like, turn off the waystones, or the waypoints. And it was just a whole mess, and the furniture wasn't even functional. So, So we ended up getting rid of it, and that's why we have lovely macaws now, because this stuff's actually functional. And we can use it. I'm so cute. That's a covered desk. Bunch of desks. I can't wait to figure out how to use a bunch of this stuff. I will be so happy. I need to just do all the things. Oh, we still have storage delight too, so I'm gonna have fun with extra cabinets. And that gives me a few counters, but I'm probably not gonna use those. Oh, we have Macaw's roofs this season as well. Oh, I wanted to try this out. Because in the video, I was like getting butthurt over you can't really mess with the bridges a whole lot. Once you place them down, they're kind of like that. Supposedly, oh, it's a half-eaten cookie. Okay. I thought the resource pack was broken. Because at some points I just saw a moon with like sprinkles on it. But I think that was just a new moon, or empty moon? I think it's a new moon, if it's completely covered. I think that's correct. Yeah, because full moon's the other way. Yeah, so it's just a half-eaten. Okay. So it just slowly eats the cookie for the moon phases. I was getting butthurt over the bridges. I believe the pliers. Pliers changed to kind of bridge. Okay. I'll have to keep that in mind. There's a couple of these. There's a couple of Macaw's items like that. I'm gonna have to find all of them. I know the pliers for the bridges now. I swore there was something else. I don't think it was just the pliers. I really don't. I swore there was like an axe or something for windows. Roofing hammer. Okay, roofing hammer's another one I need to make. I'm gonna save that. This lets me see a few more than I usually would. Roofing hammer I just got. Base, rain gutter. I'm not gonna worry about that. That's not a tool. Where Kunst. That's just print. There we go, the window hammer. Window key, I might as well make. Is there anything else? Oh, I need to start using the curtain rods too. Where? Okay, that's it. So I just gotta make those. Those are fairly easy things to make though. I think aside from the window key, because that needs a window frame, which does take glass, and I don't have that right now, and I'm not gonna deal with that. It's not a bother. I'm not gonna worry. But, it'd probably be better to have an axe on me than a pickaxe. Boop. What? I've already forgotten. Roofing hammer. So, 3 pieces of nugget and 2... 3 nugget. Change this. So I can have... Ooh. Wrong one. There we go. So this one... Like that. Yes, roofing hammer. And then... a window hammer. And I assume I can pop those in the bundle. Okay. Oh. Now you know the other cursed mod I have. The resource packs. I should go find something for it. Oh, I'm not going to use the poor skeleton horses. Where are some actual enemies? I'm not using skelly horses as my sparring opponent. That's mean. We're going to go over to abundant pillagers over here. I'm not attacking the fox either. That's just rude. Come on. I want to know. Yeah, it's about... Oh, I did literally make a wooden spear, didn't I? So yeah, no wonder it's not doing anything. It's funny, I guess. It's probably more funnier to see on enemies. There are so many pillagers here. Did everyone come to say hi? I need to actually land a hit. That'd be great, thanks. Stinky, you just stay over there. Don't you dare get in the crossfire. I do not want to lose you. Why are there so many pillagers, by the way? Why are we spawning so many? This is... Why are there... Oh, yeah, you guys have been in boats, because I forgot how you work. And for some reason, I was stuck on an older version, where I need to kind of put them... Why are there more? Boop. Oh. Please, I am a pincushion at the moment. I just... Get out of here. I don't even know if I looted this place. I don't remember actually looting it. Did I loot it? Oh. If I did loot it, or if it was looted, it was probably looted day one. So it's probably not going to have looter working. Oh, it is. It does. I mean, I'll take onion crates. Why not? Oh my... Well... Yeah. That'll do it. Yeah, boop. Yeah, boop. Land on the wall. What a... Bad Omen 4, not too bad. Bonk. I look ridiculous. I really need to get the custom player models work. I have too much to do, and so much that needs to get done. At least, I'm glad I'm not doing random streaming anymore, because I can just be like, okay, well, I'll have this day, I'll catch up everything, we could get stuff done. I don't feel like I need to, oh, I need to stream today because I haven't streamed in a while. I worry about it that day. I worry about it the day it's supposed to happen. No sooner, no later. It's did it all done. Onions. Boop. And refill the fried rice. And I don't have space for that, so it's going in here. And oh my god, that's a bunch of extra fried rice. Well. Boop, boop. And I can't even fit all that in there. I think it's about time I start cooking up more fried rice then. What am I missing? Egg, onion. We have a little bit of egg. Boop, boop, boop. There we go. And it should start making more fried rice, and I don't have any bowls, because all of them are here. Okay. Is this gonna be enough? Technically not. It's only slightly early. A bit of a shorter stream, because I started a little bit late. But otherwise, I think that's gonna be about it. I mostly just wanted to catch up and go grab those spawners real quick. I was originally planning on, like, actually going full in-depth, trying to figure out how to do the spawners, but that requires a bunch of other stuff that I don't quite want to do yet. I want to get enchanted, I want to do plans. I want to have more storage than the 9 cabinets and 4 chests that I currently have. So that'll have to be either a next stream thing, or I will do it as part of the video. I think that's going to be it. I'm going to move over to chatting. And we're gonna... Let me close off the Minecrafts. Hey, boop. Hey, boop. Boop. Let me make sure... It's still going? Why is this? Let me do that. There we go. So I know we are still going. There we go. So I can actually see all the things that I need to see. And that one's still far behind too. There we go. Oh, it's off-center when it's on the shorts version. Oh well. That's a shorts problem. But I think that'll be it. I don't got much else to say. There was a video today, so if you want to check out what happened the first week of Patch and SMP, that is up on YouTube. This VOD, after I cut out some things, will go up on the second channel tomorrow. YouTube, I do not save the VODs. It always goes up to the second channel, even though I stream on the main channel. I think that's about it. There's, of course, the Discord. On stream, it should be just down below. On YouTube, it should be in the description, and on Twitch, I do have a !YT, or there's the panels below. I am over on Blue Sky, Tumblr, and I think that's about it. There's a TikTok, I'm not super active on it. I can't think of anything else. So thank you all for joining me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.